InSTEM is a holistic mentorship and skills development program. We invite you to bring your whole selves into this virtual learning space. So before I turn it over to the experts, let's pause for a moment of mindfulness.
My name is Julia Phillips. I am a materials scientist, and my current position actually is working on science policy issues for a number of different groups, including the National Science Board. My career has had really 3 chapters. The first chapter was conducting materials science research in a laboratory and collaborating with many people. Then I got interested in management and leadership, and so I moved into management. I ended up as the Vice President of Research at Sandia National Laboratories in Albuquerque, New Mexico. I retired from Sandia in 2015, and since that time I've been working on science policy. Networking is sort of like building a tapestry, or if you like, a net. And you don't start with the whole thing right at first. You start small. And so your first network is actually probably your family and your friends and your fellow students. And you start there. You get to know these people. You understand their strengths, the things that interest them, the things that you have in common with them, and you help each other. If they need help, they may ask you for help. If you need help, you may ask them for help, advice, whatever. Over time, those friends and family can introduce you to other people. You get to know them. You get to know their strengths, their interests, things you have in common. You learn things from them. They help you, you help them, and they introduce you to their friends and their colleagues and so forth. So it just grows, and eventually you have a very wide and extensive net. And actually, as it grows, you start to discover that different people in your network connect to each other in different ways, and have different things in common. So you can start to introduce them to each other, and they can form and grow their own networks. The way I learned how to network really was by watching other people and seeing how much more effective the people were who had large connections with various people, many people in many different areas. So if you were having a conversation with an individual with a large network, it was not like talking only to them. You were also talking to people in a certain way that they knew and tapping into their expertise. And very often you'd have a conversation and a person with a large network would say, "Oh, let's see, I don't know about that, but I'll bet so-and-so does. Let's call him up or her up and see what they have to say about it." Another thing that really helped me was that it was fortuitous, but I was invited to be involved in a committee of a professional society. And professional societies are wonderful opportunities to network because you meet people from lots of different institutions and you have a common interest defined by the focus of the professional society. So you have common things to work towards. So you have a very natural way of getting to know them and working together towards a common goal. And as you do different things for your professional society, you meet more and more and more people, and your network grows and grows. When you are a student, you are there to learn. And one of the most important characteristics of a good student is to be curious. Curious about the world around you, curious about the subjects that you're learning, curious about the people you're sitting in class with or living in a dorm with or interacting with in the dining hall or on campus. And when you are curious, you naturally start to ask questions and connect. I wish that I had more fully appreciated that fact when I was my younger self. I think I've made up for it over time, but I could have had a much faster start if I had really embraced that curiosity, particularly about the people around me earlier in my life. Students can participate in network and benefit tremendously from working. First of all, of course, there are your classes. And it's not at all uncommon for students to get together to work on problem sets. That's networking of a sort. And you learn that so-and-so is really good at perhaps running the simulations that you need to do a problem set. So-and-so else is really good at the detailed mathematics. Another person may have really outstanding physical insights and be able to help the other students look at a problem in a particular way. So working in groups on problem sets is one way that it happens, or in lab where you may have sets of students working on the same experiment and some are being very successful and others are having a little more trouble with getting the experiment to work. And you get networking where the students work together to try to figure out the problems and understand why someone else's apparatus is working well. There are student organizations, which is an opportunity to broaden your horizons, learn about new things or expand your activities in a particular area, and meet a lot of new students. Going to various functions in your department may give you an opportunity to meet students that are farther along than you are. You can get advice from them and also give you an opportunity to meet newer students whom you might be able to help. And you may even be able to meet some faculty that you haven't actually had in class. So there are lots of different opportunities. One really good way and a benefit of networking for students who are still in college or graduate school is in the search for what you might do after you finish your current degree. And students who are a bit further along will have experience. They may have done an internship at a particular place and be able to tell you the good, the bad, and the ugly about that place, and maybe even provide you with a contact who can help you get your foot in the door. When it comes to actual job searching, it gives you an networking and knowing people who are a bit ahead of you can often provide you guidance into areas and companies and maybe universities that you hadn't thought about before, and open your eyes to possibilities you didn't know existed previously. I have come to realize that the possibilities and the things that I am doing now would not have been possible without my having an extensive network that I have cultivated over the years. This is very much like a garden. You continually plant seeds and some of them grow and become amazing relationships and open doors that you didn't even know were there. And others, may be there and you may call on them later, but it's not something that you that is of particular relevance at the moment. So I've come to realize how networks can, if they are cared for properly, really last for decades and years, and they can open your eyes to things you never knew were possible. My work in policy is completely the result of connections in my network where I may have interacted with somebody originally in one context, but that interaction led them to think that something else might be appropriate for me, and they broached the possibility, and we explored it, and I ended up pursuing it. So one thing that I've certainly learned is that it is well worth the time to nurture and maintain your network. Keep in touch with the people you have met, and reach out to them when you have something that you think might help them, in addition to asking them for help and advice as you go along. If you pay in, you can reap dividends that are far greater than anything that you actually invest. I am basically a pretty shy person. So networking, even today, doesn't completely come that naturally to me. One tactic that I use that I think can help people who are a bit uncomfortable with this whole situation, there are two things. One is if you are in a situation where maybe you don't know anybody else in the room, and it looks like everybody is having a great time and they're interacting and you're just standing there. If you look around, you will almost always find at least one other person who looks at least as uncomfortable as you feel. That's a good place to start. Go up to that person, start talking, find out who they are, and start asking questions. The second thing in that kind of interaction is that you need to be willing to listen. So you ask questions and you learn about them. And over time, they will learn some things about you. But the big thing is that by acting interested in them and really being interested in them, they will find you a fascinating person. And then as you start to get a little more comfortable, then you can participate more in the group conversations and get better integrated into the group. The second thing with networking is that it really helps to have a common goal. And then, so for example, the professional societies, a committee on a professional society, or a student group where you have a common goal. If everybody is working in a common direction, then it's very natural for people to start to interact. And first you interact on exactly the task at hand, but over time you get to know these people as individuals. You find out what makes them tick, and you can learn a lot of other things and figure out how your interactions might continue even beyond the achievement of the particular goal that you're trying to work on now.
We hope you found this useful. For more videos in this series, please visit us at nationalmedals.org/InSTEM.